What's up, y'all? It's your boy Dap Daniel up in the building. Very special guest, Mr. Entrepreneur, CEO, the new P. Diddy. Give it up for Mr. Kidd Klutch Productions. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Daniel. Thanks for having me on here.
No problem, no problem. It's always good to have you on here, brother. So we better talk about a very special topic. We're gonna talk about black activism, protester versus militant. Let's get into it. Hey, it's Black Evolution. We changing minds. We changing ideas. We changing the culture. Let's get into it. Hey. Alright. So, with all due respect, let's get into it. So, when it comes to black activism, I've seen this happen 1,000 times. Where you have people who get killed by the police. Then they get out there and go protest. After the protesting is done, then they say, oh, we need accountability and all this stuff. And we're going to do all these things. And then they don't be doing nothing. I believe a new course of action needs to be taken due to all this protesting and stuff. I believe protesting was great. It brought awareness. But now it's time to go to the next step. It's time for black militantism. Meaning, you need to be militant. Just with discipline. With minds and everything. We're changing the course of history here. We're taking further action. We are holding these police accountable by forcing them to be accountable and standing up to them. That's what I think the course of black activism needs to go for. What are your thoughts on this, brother?
First of all, I want to get an understanding of what you mean by militant. And can you elaborate for me?
Okay, so when it comes to black militarism, you have the militarism of the 1960s, where you had the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Again, they were defending themselves against the police and against injustice there. Of course, as we all know, they got infiltrated by the FBI and COINTELPRO. And we all know what happened with that situation. The militarism I'm talking about of today is similar to the militarism of the 1960s in one way: the discipline. We need to be disciplined. We need to be organized. We need to help the grassroots and not just be reactive, but be proactive. Know what's going on around you all the time instead of waiting for the next tragedy to hit. And then all of a sudden, we going to get our signs together and we going to protest and we going to get out there. And I'm like, okay, well, that's reactive. That's not proactive. Need you to be aware of what's going on, issues going on around you. Being conscious of what's going on, not just through police brutality, but see if it's local and everything. See about your local officials, your local elections and everything else. Take a look and see what's going on here and be militant, meaning be disciplined. Have the discipline and take control. You have a lot of these people who want to step up and be activists and everything else and get organized. Well, also go out to the community and help out the community. It should be everyday American citizens helping out their own community and be militant that way by being disciplined and knowing what's going on around you and being conscious and taking it to the next step instead of waiting for tragedy to strike. We are proactive and militant to know when it's going to happen, how it's going to take place, and how we're going to change the game and react to it. Be proactive, not reactive.
I echo those sentiments, but here's something I want to add to that. When you're saying be militant and be proactive, I do agree with you on that, but here's what I disagree with you on, is that we keep focusing on the same old issues, but when you excuse me, but when you're talking about these issues as far as being proactive, we have to take a different approach to being proactive. We gotta stop just talking about, well, organize, do this and that. Yeah, that's good, but we need to have funding for that. We need to start getting people, prominent black Americans with the wealth and capital to donate to these organizations so our communities are not vulnerable to that. We need them to start investing in the community. Well, not even investing, reinvesting into the community and putting, like I saw Diddy did the other day, he put a charter school in my hometown in the Bronx. And he had one in Harlem already. But and Jalen Rose did one in Detroit. But we need to do stuff like that. We need, and LeBron James put one in Akron, Ohio, his hometown. But we need stuff like that. We got to stop just thinking one way. We got to stop just saying, well, the social activism and all this and that. Everybody's not an activist. Everybody is not a politician. Everybody's not going to be politically active or informed. But what we need to do is put this stuff in schools so people will become more informed voters when they vote for certain candidates. And we need to have voter education on these candidates, because you often see that people, they go to the polls and they'll see this person is a Democrat or this one is a Republican, but they'll just vote for that name and they don't know what that person's ideology, what they stand for. They don't know what that person did previously before they became a politician. And I think what we need to do, we need to go from like multiple standpoints of this. We need to attack as far as the political arena, economics, educational. We need to start talking more about job creation. We need to talk about businesses, investing in more black-owned businesses. We need to talk about investing in black media. We need to talk about investing in black schools, HBCUs. Because often we keep hearing people saying, well, how come HBCUs are not getting funding? Because the people are not really, these prominent people are not donating a lot of money to the causes, so we can, to politicians and also to the schools to bring money. Because I think about with John C. Smith, a lot of our major donors are white. Like Bill Gates, it was some lady we in her will for a lifetime, I forgot her name, but that often happens. And we see what goes on too is that some of these HBCUs, you see they're named after white people. So what we have to do too is we have to figure out a way to do things for black people, by black people, but nobody else is excluded from it. But it has to be owned, controlled, and run by us.
And speaking of owning and controlling, you mentioned about the political arena. I, for one, think that both the Democrats and the Republicans are using black people as tools to get what they want and to get their agendas being pushed. We need black agendas being pushed. In order to do that, like you said, we need the funding and everything. Fund these super PACs, or the alternative, which is what I personally want to do, is create our own political party where we own and control everything. We run our own candidates from the grassroots that's owned and controlled by us and everything. And they run our issues, they run our agendas, they run our platforms and everything, what we want to do. So they won't be able to say, well, I'm not going to do anything for black people. No. Shout out to Kamala Harris for saying that. Or they won't be like, they won't call on the Breakfast Club and be like, well, if you can't figure out if you for me or for Trump, then you ain't black. Yeah, that's what Joe Biden said when he talked to Charlamagne the God when the whole election was going on. Now, it goes back to my point. The Democrats and the Republicans are using black people as tools to get their agendas being pushed. We need to have our own agendas being pushed to the political arena by having our own super PACs, creating our own political party, and having candidates that we can control, that we fund their campaigns, that we finance their campaigns, And once we finance their campaigns, they will be bound to us in terms of doing the agendas that we want to do. So reparations, police brutality, going against that, going against qualified immunity and everything such as those issues, because it'll be owned and controlled by us. So I agree with you on that, but on the political arena, it needs to be more in depth and everything else. Also, when it comes to the community, it should be everyday citizens protecting and serving their community and everything else. The problem is when it comes to issues such as police brutality and everything else, these police officers, some of them, it's all about the statism, meaning they are agents of the state and they will do whatever the state tells them to do. And they will turn on anybody, Democrat, Republican, liberals, conservatives, white, black, Asian, whoever. They will turn on anybody if they are deemed as enemies of the state. So it's not really much about the racism. It has a partial to do with it, but it's all about the statism. I mean, there are agents controlled of the state. Now, when it comes to the political arena and all these issues that we need to own and control, it's not just this what activism, like you said. It's all about basically everyday people, the common man, is standing up and rising up against injustice. That's basically what my focus is when it comes to militarism. Not just protests where they're reactive and they're reactionary. I know some people are reactionary and everything because, it's just like it comes out of fear. And like, well, it's nothing I can do. I don't want to lose my job. Well, sometimes in order to stand up against injustice, you have to take great risk and everything. Look, during the civil rights era. They were losing their jobs, they boycotted the Montgomery bus boycott, saying, hey, we want this situation to be changed. So we're going to boycott. We're going to force you, and everything to do what we want to do, which is what I'm talking about. Taking control, having leverage, dominating. You come in there and say, okay, you're not doing what we tell you to do? Well, okay. If you have candidates that are owned and controlled by us, then okay, if they don't do what we tell them to do, then we're pulling funds from their campaign and see how far they get. This is what I'm talking about. Taking control, owning and controlling everything. Being more militant, being more proactive in terms of discipline and everything else. That's my thoughts on this topic and this issue. Do you have anything to add, brother?
Yeah, I got something else I want to push back on because I understand what you're saying and I agree with most of what you said, but I have a problem where you're saying you got to be willing to lose your job. People can't say that with the way the economy is going, the way inflation is going. You can't tell a person that's not independently wealthy they need to go out here and do this and that. We need the people out here that's independently wealthy to get out there and sacrifice and start paying for their legal fees, or if they get fired or something, we need something, I don't know, come up with some kind of system to help them. Or if not, the ones that have the means, they need to just do it. Because what I'm seeing is people keep saying that, but it's like, how are you going to tell somebody that's not independently wealthy, that's living paycheck to paycheck, they need to sacrifice? It's easy for a regular a person with wealth to say, but a regular everyday people can't do this, especially the state of where the economy is at. And think about it. I say it all the time. Black people got 1% of the wealth. And we the last time we had that was slavery. And it's like nothing has really changed except for we're not united as a people. So you can't tell a person, well, you need to do this and that, because it's really now it's about what am I doing for mine? What are you doing for yours? We can't sit here and say, well, I'm going to do this for the people, and the next man across the street from you is not willing to do it.
I understand we do need unity. That's the problem. That's the problem. I agree with you on that. We need unity. We need to be united in strength as a people, as one as a people. We can't just be all divided and everything else. But at the same time, too, change happens when people take great risk. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you should go out there and actively lose your job. I'm saying there might be a risk in doing activism and putting in the work.
Yeah,
and sometimes risk is required in order for change to come about.
But what I'm saying is those with the means go and take the risk, because those without the means, they can't afford to do it.
I understand that, brother. I understand what you're saying. I understand that. And those with the means should take the risk. They should take the hit because they can afford to take the hit and everything else. Regular day common people can't. Sometimes some of them they can't afford to take the hit, so they do their
most of them. That's most the way it's going.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the overall point is people. If you want change to happen, sometimes it's not going to happen immediately. Most of the time, it's not going to happen immediately. If you want change to happen, it's going to happen when people rise up and stand up against injustice and against evil. And to do that, sometimes it requires great risk. Now, the part at which you said about the people who have the ability to take that risk, I agree with you, should take that risk and everything. But if you're not united as a people, if you're just having one person take most of the hits and the other people not taking the hits, how are you going to be united as a people and stand up against injustice and against evil if one person's taking the risk and taking most of the hits and while the other people are not doing the risk taking?
But see, that's the problem I have with that, is that how do you get people united? Because if you talk about the 60s in the 50s, we were united as a people, and even going back to slavery days in certain parts, especially like going into after Reconstruction, we were more united, but we're more divided as a people than ever.
Well, here's how you get people united, brother. You have two things: a common enemy and a common cause. The enemy against black folks in this country is white supremacist evil. So you have the common enemy. We're all suffering from the common enemy. Whether if you're a Republican, Democrat, Republican black man, or a Democratic black man, whether you're a regular black man or part of the LGBTQ community black man, we all face the same enemy, the same common enemy of white supremacist evil. And so, under that banner of the common enemy, we need unity, because once you have a common enemy, we have all a common cause to rally behind. We want freedom, economic freedom, educational freedom, being able to own and control our own destiny, and not worry and live in fear of these white supremacists going up to our churches. Do you people don't want to live in fear of that? You go in the church, you praying, some white supremacist terrorist walks in their church and starts shooting people in the church, or a grocery store. You don't want to live in fear of people. You just walk into the grocery store, go in the grocery store, some white supremacist terrorist goes up in there, like what happened in Buffalo this year, and shoots up the dang store. So we need a common cause, which is freedom, unity, and the protection, economic empowerment of our people. And we have the common enemy, which is white supremacist evil.
But see, yeah, you're making good points, but I want to, like I said, it's a broad view. We need to go in depth in this because, like I said, we keep looking at more of the social issues. The social issues, we don't need to take our eyes off of it. We need to focus on that. But our number one focus right now needs to be the economic issues on what's going on in people's households, what's going on in their wallets, bank accounts. That's what we need to focus on. That should be the common goal, because everybody needs money. Everybody likes money. Everybody uses money to trade currencies for different purposes. You may own a house, you may pay rent, you may own a business, you may work, you go into the grocery store, you may have a car, you may travel on public transportation. You need to trade your currency. So instead of us focusing on, well, this is going here, white supremacy here, we need to focus on what the original sin is of slavery, which is racism and greed. So we need to go after the structures with greed. We need to, like you always say with reparations, we need to do that, but we can't just focus on reparations. We need to focus on politicians and people that are going to invest in the communities.
Yeah, I want to say about reparations, though. When you have reparations, you have everything you need. You have the money, the capital you need to take control of your own destiny. No longer will you be bound by the dominant society.
But yeah, that's going to take a long time. I'm talking about a short-term solution. We need short-term solutions while we're waiting and organizing for the long-term solutions. This is where the problem is with black people. We have to keep waiting for this and that, and stuff doesn't happen. It's the same old. And then we come back to the table with the same old questions about the problems, but we're not actually coming up with robust, in-depth solutions. We need to start forcing politicians, forcing prominent business people, forcing prominent entertainers, forcing prominent churches to build up the black community and reinvest in the black community. Because you know what I see when you go to black communities? You see liquor stores, you see check cashing places, you see fast food, and you see churches. I go to white communities, you see a lot of times you see banks, credit unions, you see schools, major corporations, you see public transportation and sidewalks, you see health food places. And I'm saying we're taking our eyes off the ball because we have to get these things in our communities. We have to build up our communities. It's all right to have those things, but look, we have to start talking about the economics. We need to get down to the business. People keep on going around it, but then when you have regular, everyday people come in saying, well, I have no money, I'm living in poverty. I'm living in my car. I'm living in the cardboard box. So I'm living in the hood. How am I going to get out? People keep telling me vote my way out of here. But I don't see these politicians coming here to talk to me. They say, how do I vote my way out of here? How I vote myself out of poverty? You can't vote yourself out of poverty, but you can vote to keep your situation from getting even worse. But what I'm saying to address that is those with the means and those with the voice go out there and be the voice for the voiceless and stop just blaming the victims in the situation. Yes, we do have ignorance in our community, but it's in every community we have ignorance. But what we need to do, I said is earlier, we need to educate, we need to reevaluate, and we need to empower the community with knowledge about wealth, knowledge about politics, knowledge about tech, real estate, math, science, all those things, because those are the things that's empowering the communities now. If you're not in those industries or fields, you're not going to make money. That's the thing. We need to get job training programs. We need to bring back trade schools. College is all right, but everybody's not going to go to college. We got to talk about the people that's not going to college and address their needs. We need to talk about the men that's working construction. Got to address their needs. The men that's going to factories and they getting laid off from their jobs. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about how more black people can become plumbers. More black males can become teachers, professors, principals, doctors, lawyers,
businessmen.
So, and the way you start that is you need to put that in the schools early on. We're focusing on math and science, and that's good, but that's not helping because everybody's not going to be a scientist.
Yep.
But guess what? A lot of people can be teachers. You can have a lot of people that's in the factories, plumbers, bank tellers. Start putting more money in those things to make people want to talk about doing these things, because people keep saying, well, why all these black kids and brown kids, we want to be entertainers and ballers, because that's the people or drug dealers, because those are people with the money.
Yep. It's all about, like you said, it's all about economic empowerment and owning and controlling everything, which is what I'm also about as well. And like you said, the people who have the most influence, who have the most things that they can do the risk, they can go and do the sacrifices, they should be able to do that. But I'm saying we need to have unity as a people, we need to have strength as a people, and a common cause and a common enemy as people, which is why I stated the white supremacist is evil, and having like unity in terms of, we're all united under that one cause and everything else. Like what you're mentioning about, I was going to mention too earlier, which is about the needs of the people. The needs of the common man, the needs of the working man, the needs of the man who's working every day, 9 to 5, struggling, paying his bills and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people, especially some of these politicians, they don't address the everyday common needs of the people. And that's why people sometimes vote against these politicians or vote for these politicians, because they have to address the common needs of the everyday man. And so when it comes to also with black people, we need to address their needs. Address the person who is in poverty, who is struggling. Address the person who's out of poverty. Address the person who basically is in construction, or somebody in the middle class. We need to address those people. We need to address everybody and address those needs and have a united black front or black agenda, so we can all address those needs and own and control everything for the political party and everything, and for our arena and everything else, and fund these campaigns in terms of politically, fund education, because I've seen a lot also when it comes to teachers in general, especially with black teachers. They are underpaid and underfunded. I've talked to many teachers. They have brilliant minds, brilliant, some of the smartest people that you may ever meet, but they're being underpaid. They are educating the future. They are educating the next generation of people, and they're underpaid. This is a problem with economics. This is why we need group economics, all of us pull our resources together, pull our wealth together, and create jobs and stimulate the black economy, the black dollar. Don't invest in white-owned corporations. Invest in your own black-owned businesses so you can have our community thrive and everything else. You know what I noticed also when it comes to the black community? Gentrification. I have noticed that when it comes to the black community, when a community is predominantly black, you have them struggling. They're struggling to pay their housing. They're struggling for mortgage. They're struggling to pay their bills. And then the prices of that in that community gets boosted up. And then they're forced to move out. And then what happens when the Caucasian race comes in? The prices all of a sudden go down. They're reasonable prices. Yeah, because it was an attack. They boosted the prices when the black folks were there, and then they forced them to move out. And then when the white folks came in, or the Caucasian folks came in, they basically lowered the prices down so they can afford to live there. That's called gentrification. And that, also it's because the businesses are not up. So too many black people, some of them, have white minds. If it's white, it's right. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. They have a white supremacist mindset. So we need to get those people out of our community because they're not doing anything to help or benefit our community because they're like, well, if it's white, it's right. They go to a white-owned business. They're quick to give them that money. But a black-owned business, they're like, well, I don't want to support. I don't know.
They got every damn excuse in the world.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. It's not good. Or, well, we black. So that tells you right there that mindset where if you have to say, well, we know we're black, that means, we're not as good.
Yeah, and it's dumb. And I see a lot of times, too. You see black people, they start businesses. Some often start businesses and then they neglect the businesses because you'll see them say, well, they'll put more time in them working their full-time job than they would their own business. And I'm saying, if you can go work all them hours for the white man, how come you can't work a few hours for yourself?
Yep.
And get your business jumping? Because it's like you said, it's that white supremacist mindset. It's like you have to take it serious and you have to be on your game to get to it. It's going to be hurdles to jump over, but if you put your mind to it, you can do it.
Yep.
And it's like, when are we going to, as a people, start focusing on the stuff that's going on right? Because, perfect example, I see stuff all the time on social media. You hear them talking about something controversial and stupid, and people, talk about all that, but stuff going on in the world as far as the economy and stuff that's affecting them, they're not talking about that. They're not even paying attention. They're not knowledgeable on what's going on. And it's like, you can't be that way because you got people out here making decisions on your life that you don't even know nothing about. And they're doing it behind closed doors. And it's affecting you, and then you're yelling at the last minute, oh, Black Lives Matter, how come this is happening? Yeah, because you had your eyes off the ball. Keep your eyes on the ball. If you're not, I always say this, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So make sure you get a seat at the table.
That's what I'm saying with this black militantism. You have to be aware of all times, be conscious of all times and everything else, and to be disciplined. Have the discipline to know what's going on around you and do something proactive about it, not wait till the last minute and be protesting all the dang time. Protesting brings awareness and it's good, but it doesn't solve the overall issue. The overall issue is you need to be on it. Stay on these issues all the time, all year, not just when a tragedy happens and everything. And it's just so many people, they don't focus on what needs to be focused on. They focus on their corporate job and everything. And I understand you need that. You need that job as a means to supply your needs, supply, you're paying rent, putting food on the table for your children. If you have children, if you don't have children, putting food on the table in general. You need that money and everything else. But at the same time, too, you can multitask. On most jobs, they have you multitask anyway. So why multitask on your job and then work on your business or work on your side hustle, what you need to do. And
no, it's not. I always say, I disagree on that part with the side hustle. I always say I don't call it business a side hustle because if you call it that, you're going to treat it like that. It's not your side hustle. It is your path to wealth and it's your path to success. Because if you treat it as a side hustle, you're not going to put much time into it. No, you get off of work, okay, put a few hours into doing something for your business, check your books, plan, come up with a business plan and see what you want to do. Because, and even on the weekend, if you're not doing nothing, rather than you go out and do something, focus on your business, and then you can do both. You can walk and chew gum at the same time, but stop putting your needs on the back burner. That's what we're struggling as a community too. Put your needs first and stop worrying about what your neighbor got going on. Yeah, you can help your neighbor, but you got to help yourself first. If your house is on fire, or you gonna go put your neighbor's house, and your neighbor house is on fire, whose house are you gonna put out first? Your own.
Yep.
Put yours out, and then you can help them out. Because I always reference what goes on an airplane. They always say, in case the plane crashes or something happens, they say, put the mask on. I think it's the oxygen mask. They say put it on yourself, and then you go help somebody else. They say, no, you don't go and try to help somebody else, and then put yours on. Because if you're not healthy, if you're not good, nobody else is gonna be good. So what I'm saying is, take some time for yourself and focus on yourself, but also, as you do that, help others get up. And like I said, your job, if you have a business, it's a means to an end. So don't sit here and put all your time into your job. Yeah, do the best you can in your job, but focus on your business, because that's going to be with you long term. Because your job can lay you off, fire you, or anything tomorrow, and you have nothing. So focus on your kids, focus on your future. I always reference with a great Damon Dash show. He said he hustles for his last name, not his first. So what that means is hustle for your kids, hustle for your spouse, hustle for your parents, hustle for your family. And then by you doing that, you can empower the community. So what we need to do as a people, we need to put black first, everybody else second. My house first, everybody second. And there's nothing wrong with that. Our community, that's what we keep on failing. We're helping other communities and we're helping other people get rich and get wealthy, but we're staying at the same spot, or we're regressing. We need to progress, not regress. Even if you take one step up, that's all right. Just keep on taking baby steps, and you'll be all right. Because it's like this. Like I said, what protesting, there's nothing wrong with protesting. Protesting is the start. And then after you protest, go to the polls and vote. Don't just go vote. Vote for candidates that you know are going to do what they're supposed to do. So what we need to start focusing on too is primary elections, because people often don't vote in primaries. That's how you end up with shitty candidates. If you go to focus on primaries, you can run the candidates you want. Like you said, Daniel, with the black party.
Yeah.
If we run black political party candidates in these local and state elections and the primaries, we will be all right. Because even whether we win or not, we can force that next candidate to take on the agenda that we need them to do and hold them accountable. And if once they get in office and they're not doing it, get them out of there.
Yep.
Run somebody else. And even we can't try to run in races that we know we're gonna win. Sometimes you got to go away, play some away games, go on different networks that don't support us, and go out there and be ready to debate and attack.
Yep.
Because it's like playing football or basketball. Anybody can win at home, but it's really something where you can go to away and play good.
Yep. And also when it comes to like going home, and speaking of going home and going away, you bring issues and you light and attention to people that are not aware of the issues before. It's easy to be in a think bubble, or a thought bubble, or echo chamber, as I call it. And you're at home and everything else, and everybody thinks like you. What happens when you come across people that don't think like you? Because you believe me, you are gonna come across people who don't think like you. So you need to be prepared and aware of that. And how do you prepare? We get prepared and aware of that by going away and traveling to different networks and going to different networks and talking and debating with people and going on the attack about your issues and everything else, because they're going to bring up some talking points that you probably haven't even heard before. So you need to be aware and be attentive of what's going on with that situation as well. So, brother, Kidd Klutch Productions, Mr. Tyler, what is your final thoughts on the whole black activism, militarism versus protesting debate that we discussed here?
I think you made a lot of good points in that. thing. I think, yes, we have to, I'm going to echo it again, what we both said. We got to be militant. And by that, we mean by militant is we need to be aware of the surroundings that's going on. And we need to be proactive. And see, proactive, what that means is you need to be out here doing something. I don't know what your job, I don't know what your role, your calling is. You know what it is, more than likely. You need to get out there and do what you are supposed to do. Because I always talk about New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick. He tells his team all the time. He said, don't worry about what the next person doing. He said, you do your job. And if you do your job, you hold yourself accountable. You won't have to worry about what the next person is doing because you're doing your part. And that's how we're going to be able to unite. We're going to have to focus on ourselves and take care of our own homes. Then we can go out, take care, and take our own community. Then we can take care of the rest. Because we'll be more stronger and powerful if we do that. And also, another thing I want to talk about is we need to start holding both parties accountable because they're both trash. And even though, yeah, you may not want to vote for a Republican. No, I'm not encouraging you to do that. And Democrats, if they trash too, I'm not going to encourage you to vote for them. But I'll say this, vote your conscience and vote your interests when you're voting for these candidates. See who has the best, who's running on, see what platform they're running on, and see what ideas they have. If they can't string up any ideas that support what you need, don't vote for them. Or even if you do, you vote for them and, like we said, protest. Then after you protest, we got to protest outside of these, where the establishments of where our major black organizations and black people, they are. We need to challenge them to get more involved. And when I mean by involved, I'm not saying just go out there and speak out, but use your wallet to do the talking with these political candidates. Fund them. And for those that's protesting, fund them. Pay for their bail. Put money towards civil rights organizations that specialize in these things so they can solve the issues and they don't have to go to white institutions to get money. And HBCUs too. If we do that, and we take care of our people will be in a better place. But if we keep on doing this me mindset and saying, well, I got mine, you go get yours, we're not going to get anywhere as a people. We have to give a voice to the voiceless by taking on the baton and taking on the leadership role and doing what needs to be done.
Yep. It's all about, for me, this is my final thoughts here. It's all about taking the next step and going to the next level. How do you go to the next level? You become aware of everything, you become conscious. You vote for who's in your best interest. Don't just stop taking these stuff out of the game. You got some people saying, no tangibles, no vote. No reparations, no vote. Well, those people are taking themselves out of the game. Change the rules and vote what's in your own interest. And if you see these candidates who are not voting in your own interest of what you need, then you don't have to vote for them. You can vote for your local elections or for candidates who are in your best interest. And if they're not in the best interest, that's why you have to take control and have your own. Black people need to have their own political party to have candidates that run our agenda and are controlled by us and are funded by us. It's all about us taking control of our own destiny and seizing our place as rightful heirs of the struggle and everything and liberation for our people. Yeah, people who came before us, who used what they had to help liberate us. Now we need to use what we have. And also, I'll say this too. Our generation, the Generation Zs, has more technology, more resources than any other previous generation before us. Therefore, we have all the information. There is literally no excuse as to why we are not aware about certain issues and what things are going on and what's happening within our communities and the broader issues at large. So therefore, when it comes to voting and everything else, there is no excuse about, well, I don't know who to vote for and who's our local candidates. You better go on Google and Google it and see what's going on and see what their platforms are and see what their ideas are, and you vote based upon those interests. Elections are coming up, midterm elections coming up. November the 8th, or you can do early voting before that. So it's coming up. Be aware, be active, be proactive, not reactive. This is the black.
And I got another thing to say.
Go ahead, brother.
If you want, in order for you to get what you want in the game, you got to play the game. And also, once you play the game and you win the game, you make your own rules. But you have to play the game. And also, what we need to do is, specifically with the Democrat Party, we have to start pushing them to talk about our issues, specifically black men, the issues we may have going on. We have the same issues going on as white men and Hispanic, but on a more larger level. So if we want people, like Tyler said the other week, people keep thinking it's black and Jewish people that all they care about is money. Well, everybody cares about money. So we have to make sure that they're addressing the needs, because you see many Democrat candidates are down now because the needs of black people are not getting addressed, specifically black men. And I said it earlier this year. I said it's gonna come back to bite the Democrat Party. And like I said, their platform is, oh, well, the Republicans are worse. Yeah, they're worse, but this is where we put up a tangible plan on why we should vote for you. Like you said, the Biden thing and the Harris thing. And that's what I'm saying. Voice your concerns. Don't voice them on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Get out there on the streets and protest.
Yep. Or
get out there on the
city
phones
council
and call.
meetings.
Yep.
City council meetings. Go
Yep.
to those city council meetings if you're concerned, and bring those issues to them. Whoever your council members are, in each, because council members are vary each state, but whoever they are, bring your issues to them. Bring your complaints to them.
Yep.
And get active. Be all up in their face in those meetings.
And
And they don't do what you say, be that they're at another meeting and say you said you were gonna do this.
Yep. And go to your call your senators and Congress people too, and governors, and tell them how you feel. Voice your opinion. They'll listen to it.
Yep.
And start pulling. And like I said, this is why I say too, you need entertainers and prominent business people in the black community to fund these candidates, because guess what? They respond to funding and voting. If you start withholding your vote from them in certain spots in the primary, not primaries, but in certain elections, they will listen to you. And also you need to do too, withhold funding. When they start asking for donations, don't fund them, because also what we see a lot of times is when candidates start losing funding, their tune changes, because their funding is how they're able to keep their campaign operating, how they're able to stay in office. So we have to focus on, like I said, the economics, the money. We start pulling funding from these candidates and we start funding their opponents and running people against them, they'll take us serious. And that's all I have.
Yep, my final thoughts are this. Take control. Take control of economics. Take control politically. Take control of social issues and everything else. Be aware. Be proactive, not reactive. Don't just wait for a tragedy to happen. Take control. Take charge. Join your local community organizations. Join local elections and everything else. Do voter turnout. All these things lead to economic empowerment and freedom and everything else in every aspect. Be more militant, meaning be more disciplined and everything else. Have the awareness to know what's going on and the willingness to do something about it. This is my final thoughts, and this is the Black Evolution. We changing minds, we changing the culture, we changing everything. Listen to the outro music. Hey, change the culture, change minds, change ways, change mentality.
Yeah.
Change the mentality.
Yeah.
I'm saying it again. Change.
The mentality.
Change the mentality.
Yes, sir.
We changing the culture.
Yeah.
We changing minds.
Yeah.
We changing lifestyles.
Yeah.
We changing everything.
Yeah.
This is the Black Evolution, and enjoy our episodes.
You know it.
We are the debate season. We are the new season.
Yes.
We are the Black Evolution. We out.